So now that we've talked about loans and how they work, it's time to create a loan calculator. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and go into my OneDrive. And in my OneDrive, I'm going to create a new file inside my computer apps. So I'm going to go in my computer apps folder, and I'm going to go into instruction files, and I'm going to create a new Excel workbook. This one is going to be called Loan Calculator. So when it loads up, I'm going to go ahead and go to the top of this workbook, and I'm going to create it called Loan Calculator. Now, this is going to have features that we don't necessarily need to open this up inside of full Excel. So if you wanted to follow along and do a loan calculator with me, which I highly suggest that you do, and learn how a loan actually works, and get the points for that, you are going to be able to do it right in here. But I'm going to go ahead and open this up in the desktop app just because I like to make sure that I'm able to see the full version. You don't have to. Again, everything we're using is pretty much available in the 365 version. So now that we've talked about how a loan works, it's time to calculate one. And we need to get some information on here first. Like, for instance, what date and time did you get the loan, right? So you need to know when you did that, what item are you purchasing, right? Are you purchasing a car, a house, whatever? What was the original cost or price? I'm going to go ahead and put price of the item or thing you're buying. How much did you provide in a down payment, right? And then after you know, like, what's the original price, what you pay up front for your down payment, you can then calculate what your loan amount is. And we're just going to keep it simple for right there. So I'm going to go ahead and type those into column A. If you need to pause the video here, do. And I'm going to go ahead and double click up here between A and B to expand that column and be able to put some information in. So let's say we were going to do it right now. Like, this is the time we're going to get the loan, right? And this is important because knowing what date and time you're calculating at determines what interest rate you get, because interest rates change like daily and sometimes hourly. So I'm going to use a function here to go ahead and calculate the date and time right now. And actually, it'll be a function that'll update as we go. So I'd like to pause the video here and see if you can find a function that will put in the date and time and it will update automatically. So on the data tab, the formulas tab, there's date and time here. And if you kind of scroll through here and you hover over them, remember, they'll tell you what they are. We're going to do the now function, like it's right now, returns the current date and time, format as a date and time, and what's cool is it updates automatically. So I'm going to put in the now function. And what's cool about the now function is it doesn't take any arguments, which means there's nothing that needs to go inside of these parentheses for our syntax. It just does it. So I'm going to click OK, and it will return the current date and time. And watch it, because yours is probably a different date and time, but go ahead and check, because you will see it change as we move through. So let's just start simple and say we're going to get a car. Okay. Oh, look, it updated. Let's say the original price of the car is $5,000. So I'm going to go ahead and put 5,000 in here. Okay. And then I'm going to say I brought $1,000 up front. Okay. When I do that, I can then calculate my loan amount. Now, normally what we would do is we put an equal sign and we'd calculate it out like original price, $5,000. I put a down payment down. I'm going to minus out the 1,000 and get my loan amount, right? So I put B3 minus, and then I put B4. So I could select B4. Now, this is a reference, right? So that way, if these numbers change, so like if my car was 10,000 and I only brought $1,000, they would update. Very important that you put those references in there. However, what I want to show you is that you can actually name these cells. So instead of it being B3 minus B4, we can name it to give it a little bit more information, like we know what we're calculating and what we're doing, but also at the same time to make it an absolute reference, which is really cool. So I'm going to go to original price here in B3, and I'm going to name this. You've seen this formula bar. It's right here underneath the ribbon. But over here on the left, there's this name box of what cell you're currently in. If you click here, you can delete this and you can make it like original price. Now, if you put a space in original price and you hit enter, it won't allow you to. You can't put spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and put original price here with no spaces and a capital P in the middle of it. Now, when I do that and I click enter on my keyboard, it now names it to be original price. If I click off of it and I click back on it, you'll see that this is now part of that name. And if I hit this drop down menu, it's an option in here. It's a named cell. Excel knows what cell this is. And then I'm going to go do the same for down payment. Okay. Now I'm going to go to my loan amount, which still says B3 minus B4, so it still works. But this time, instead of that, I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to go click on B3 again, and it will actually bring in the new name of original price, and I can minus out, and I can actually type down payment. And what's cool is whenever you're typing inside of equations, it'll pop up with suggestions below, and you can see that it's suggesting a cell and it's suggesting a function. And I'm going to select down payment. I can hit tab or double click to put that in there, and it'll select them and make it original price minus down payment. Okay. So now I've got this here. I'm going to go ahead and actually click on B5, and I'm going to name this loan amount as well. Okay, so I'm going to name loan amount and hit enter. All right, so calculate that out, and now we're going to add in some new features to really start continuing calculating our loan and see how much that car really costs us in the end.